3. Did you ever stop and think about the fact that the U.S. Constitution actually created less freedom than there existed in America before the Constitution? Ever think about the fact that those at the convention were only tasked with amending the articles, not instituting a new government altogether? Ever question why the Founding Fathers met in secret, and instead of acting constitutionally and only amending the articles, they abandoned them and instituted a new and far more powerful central government? Did you know that 4/5 of those at the Constitutional Convention were public creditors? 1/3 were land speculators. 1/5 represented interest in shipping, manufacturing, and merchandising, and most of them were lawyers. Did you know that at the time of the signing of the Constitution, less than 10% of the inhabitants of the American geographic landmass even had a say in how they were to be governed? Did you know that Rhode Island actually refused to be governed by the U.S. Constitution, and one of the first acts of the U.S. Congress was to institute an embargo on her people? I have thought long and hard about these questions, and I've questioned the content of the U.S. Constitution, not just the motives of those who wrote it. Specifically Article 1, Section 8. Did you ever consider the small group of people that gave themselves the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States? A small group of people gave themselves that power over such a massive geographic area. They also gave themselves the power to borrow money and credit on the United States. That's on your backs, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, they gave themselves the power to regulate commerce amongst the states, which later became basically the power to regulate everything that takes place within the states. And if you think there was a decentralization, or those that signed the Constitution were actually looking out for the best interests of the people and were revolutionaries, then why would they include the power to provide forth the calling of the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions? That's right, for those of you constitutional supporters, never forget the Whiskey Rebellion, in which George Washington, at the behest of the Secretary of Treasury Alexander Hamilton, murdered American citizens, simple Appalachian mountain men, for brewing whiskey, and some of them using it as a medium of exchange. Let us not forget Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, for those of you that are up in arms about the National Defense Authorization Act, which gives the President the power to suspend habeas corpus and lock up people indefinitely without habeas. Let us not forget that the Constitution gives the power to that small group of men in the U.S. Congress. Under Section 9, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. How do you define rebellion? I've questioned all these things, and you know what I've come to the realization? That the U.S. Constitution was nothing more than a tool of the few to live off of the many. May we work together to overcome the inconsistency that is being for individual liberty and supporting an institution that is at the same time antithetical to individual liberty. Let us together build a society where the words written on a piece of paper 200 plus years ago do not still bind our free will to the arbitrary whims of those who control the central government. We can build a better world. I know we can. Let go of the hierarchies of paternalism, privilege, and monopoly coercion. Your chains, break them.